everybody, it's Ben in beta, and today I have the darling of the pressure washer world for you right now, and that is this Ryobi Automotive Pressure Washer that they just released. I was able to get to Home Depot and find one of these units, and it's been on YouTube everywhere. It's been on fire. And the reason for that is this is Ryobi's Automotive Pressure Washer. It's made specifically for washing cars. Here's a couple of things that they've really targeted. That 1200 PSI marker, that's kind of a really good PSI for washing your vehicle. And then a 1.8 gallon per minute output for water. 2 gallons is really, really good. They didn't quite make it that high, according to their numbers at least, but it's in the neighborhood. And this is really similar to a lot of the other pressure washers on the market in this price range, honestly, in terms of numbers. Some of them are like 1800 PSI, but they're around that 1.7, 1.8, 2.0 gallon claims. I actually have a pressure washer that I'm going to be testing very shortly from York that claims 2.5 gallons per minute. In general, anything in that 1.5 to 2.0 gallons is really pretty good. These will all wash your vehicle just fine, by the way. So these are basically good numbers for a pressure washer like this. Again, it's at $150 price point, but the big thing that you're getting with this, because it's an automotive system, is the accessories. This is pretty much the only pressure washer on the market to offer a Shorty gun out of the box. None of the other companies are doing that. So you're getting the Ryobi Shorty Gun right out of the box. You're also getting a 40-degree tip, a 25-degree tip, and a 15-degree tip, and they have the nozzle covers, which is something that a lot of people like, because that way if you hit this against your vehicle, you're not gonna scratch it or anything like that. It's got a little bit of rubber around it, so that's pretty cool too. So that's 2 pluses. You're also gonna get a lance with this, and it has a curve to it. And that's really helpful when you're trying to wash something really tall or underneath to get that curve. Most of them are straight, so again, they thought about the automotive market here, which is great. You get your standard foam cannon here. I'm not sure how well it's gonna work because it looks very similar to a lot of the other foam cannons that you get with these pressure washer systems, and they're just okay. They do foam. They're not as good as a lot of the aftermarket cannons that you would buy. You also get the 35-foot power cable, which is pretty standard, and that's good, and it's pretty flexible, which is nice. Then one of my requirements on pressure washers is that it has a non-proprietary connector, so you're getting that M22, and this is a 14 millimeter, I believe, so it should connect with accessories really nice and easy as well. But the other thing that they're offering with this unit is a 40-foot flexible hose, and it does seem a little bit more flexible than some of the other hoses that I've used with these less expensive systems. So I think this unit is targeting people who want to get into detailing, but they don't want to really buy a system and then buy a bunch of accessories. They kind of want to just have everything that they need. And it's very possible Ryobi has pulled that off here. So if you're somebody who's looking for a pressure washer for washing their vehicle, that's basically what you're going to use it for the majority of the time, and you don't want to have to buy a hose, and you don't want to have to buy a Shorty gun, this might be the pressure washer for you. But we'll give it a try here on the Santa Fe that we just got a few days ago and see how it works. When we're done, I'll give you some opinions on who I think it's ultimately for and who it might not be for too, because I do think this system might not be for everybody. Let's give it a try and see how it goes. All right, so unfortunately I didn't record any of that, but I was able to unfurl the entire cord, and then my neighbor needed to spray off his trailer, so we just did that with the unit. We used the 25-degree tip for that. Didn't catch any of that, but the cord has unfurled pretty well. Connection-wise, everything's pretty good here. All right, please remember that these videos take a lot of time and effort to make. Please hit that like button if you found this at all helpful. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet so far. There'll be more content with this and other pressure washers and how-tos as well. Don't forget to share this out with anybody who might be interested in a pressure washer and might be thinking about what they should be buying right now. This might be a good choice. I also have a couple other good choices on the channel too. Just to kind of go back over a few things. So I did do a quick connect in the back here because my hose has a quick connect on it, but everything connected up really nice and easy. You got power here, it lets you know it's on with a light. I actually like that. Storage for 2 nozzles. I wish you could do all 3. That would actually be kind of handy, but it doesn't have that. 25-degree nozzle worked really well just recently here, which is good. And everything connected up good. One thing I don't like about the Shorty gun is that it doesn't swivel. So if things start to kind of tangle up here, that might be a little harder to untangle basically. So that's one thing I don't like. Something that you would buy aftermarket would probably have that. And we'll talk more about what I think about quality-wise, that kind of stuff once we use the system, but the trigger pull is really, really light. The gun itself is really, really light. Something else we'll talk about too. But everything hooked up well. We have no leaks, which is good. The system's nice and easy to move around, and I think here with the 40-foot hose, I'll be able to get all the way around the vehicle with it sitting in one spot, which is an advantage. I'm going to do basically a hybrid wash today. I'm going to use Incredible Suds to foam up the vehicle, then I'm going to rinse it, and then I'm going to finish it with rinseless. And I'm just doing that for time, basically. And really, I don't need to test this any more than that. I'll have a pretty good idea of what I like and don't like about it from that, I think. So this hose isn't super flexible, but it's not too bad. It's definitely better than a lot of the other hoses, I would say. Not as nice as an Uberflex or a Flexzilla or one of the steel braided hoses you might buy aftermarket again, but for a beginner who's not looking to upgrade anything, this is actually pretty nice. Again, I wish there was another slot here to store this tip because now I don't know what to do with this while I'm gonna do the foaming. We have the foam cannon. I've already put about 600 milliliters of water in it, and then we're gonna use Incredible Suds in here like we have been on other things to see how that works. With the foam cannon, you can adjust the amount of soap you want to come out, and you can adjust the direction of the soap. And then you can kind of see the little foam piece inside here too, and that's what basically causes it to foam, essentially. So I'm gonna get this hooked up here really quick. We'll get this sudsed up with this thing, see how it goes, and then we'll wash it down, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on the system from there. I might get rained on, we'll see what happens here. All right, 1 ounce of Incredible Suds going in. All right, 1 ounce. One nice thing about this one is it does have a filter on the end, which is nice, and a lot of them don't, so I like that. And it is still quick connect. So again, for beginners, if this is your first pressure washer and you decided to get something like this, once you add your soap, it's good to mix it up a little bit. Incredible Suds especially because it's very thick, and you can see it's kind of all going to the bottom, and we want it to be mixed nice and even if we can. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the top back on. Now I had to move the unit a little bit because my neighbor parked outside of my driveway. I'm gonna try to leave this here the entire time while I get around the vehicle. Turning it upside down doesn't really leak either, which is pretty nice. Ryobi's done a pretty good job of their homework here. Now a couple other things about the gun before we get started. It is all brass, and for the price you'd expect that. Anytime we connect something, we want to point away first when we first use it. Okay, and again, there's no really adjustability here on anything more than how much we want. I'm at max soap right now. Here we go. Okay, catching back up. All right, so I've done about half the car and I don't have a whole lot left, so that's one thing. With all of these foam cannons from the less expensive systems, that's pretty common. So far I'm able to pretty easily maneuver everything around. There are some kind of curls in it. It's not too bad. All right, so you can see that the soap has kind of come off already. It's still doing its job. It's pulling off the dirt, which is what you want, but it's not super thick foam. This will work just fine, but notice that I went through that entire canister very quickly and I had to go pretty fast around the vehicle. I would like to be able to use a little less product, I think, for that same amount, but that is very typical of any foam cannon like this. I would say the thing you'd most want to upgrade with the system is probably the foam cannon. You don't have to do it, but it's probably the thing you'd most want to. So let's put the 40-degree tip on and see how it rinses. It has really pretty good power, I would say. Trigger pull is really nice and easy. It's a little bit harder at the end, but to get started is not bad. I could see it being a little bit fatiguing over time if you're doing like multiple cars, holding it in, but it's not bad. And let's see how it goes here. Now I am tangled around my tire here a little bit at this point. So that's kind of where we're at. I'd still consider upgrading the hose. just something to think about there. And again, we'll talk about final thoughts at the end, but let's go ahead and wash it down. It does have a good spray pattern. I do like the nozzles and the tips on here. These are pretty nice. And it does have quite a bit of GPM, it feels like, which is good. Does seem to surge a lot though. All right, what if I wanted to use the lance, which is what I should have done in the beginning to get the top of the vehicle a little bit better. So we'll go ahead and try that out too. Again, I like that the lance is angled. Not everybody likes lances. I do. It has a pretty good kick to it. Not bad. Kind of a weird lance. Okay. Okay, lance isn't too bad. Let's see how we get around. You can see that it's pretty tangled. So this is better than it's very similar to what you get with any other pressure washer, I would say, but it's nice because it's longer, obviously. Kind of caught up here. Oh, all right. Now, one of the things, you can't turn this lance while the water is running. With my active one, you can turn it while the water's running. Just an observation. All right, so you watched me do that wash. This is my first wash with this unit, so you're getting my first opinions on it. I think what I said at the beginning stands. If you are a person who's just getting into detailing, you don't know if you want to spend a lot of money on it, but you kind of want to have a good experience, or at least a decent experience. For $150, I'm not sure you're gonna be able to find a better experience out of the box than this Ryobi. Pressure and the water that's coming out of here is really good as well. The foam cannon's not too bad. It has enough solution in it. You can do a vehicle reasonably. So I might have actually used 1.5 ounces of product on accident when I used the foam cannon. So you saw what that performed like. But if you're curious, do I want a different foam cannon? This is an actual ounce this time, and I have 600 milliliters of water in this Ryobi foam cannon. So let's go ahead and give this Ryobi a try. We'll do the same thing here, putting it in. So this is 1 ounce instead of 1.5 ounces. A couple things you're gonna get with this is much more adjustability. I can adjust the direction of the fan, how much foam comes out, but in this one I can also adjust the fan pattern as well, and that's actually a pretty big deal too. All right, mix it up just like the last time. Let's see if it leaks. This one does have a little bit more leakage to it when you tip it upside down. It's not too bad though, actually. Okay, it's good and mixed up. Let's see what happens when we foam with this instead. All right, pointing away. It's on max foam. All right, let's see if there's a difference. So you can see there's a big difference. This is much thicker foam. It's staying on the vehicle and then kind of slowly pulling off. And this is kind of what you want from foam in general. Again, this is a $35 foam cannon, not real expensive. In fact, on the cheaper end, honestly. But it's working quite well. Okay, we're a little tangled up, but still able to reach around the other side. Whole vehicle is foamed at this point, and it's obviously much foamier. And again, if you're a beginner, this is kind of what you're looking for foam cannon, but you can also see I have some left over. So basically, if I filled this one up to like 800 milliliters or 1,000 milliliters, and then did 2 ounces of product or 1.5 ounces even, I'd be able to cover the whole vehicle twice. So you're gonna spend a little bit on this, but you're gonna save on product because you're not gonna use as much of it to foam your vehicle, and you're gonna get better results. And this also has a little bit better weighted ball system and a more flexible tube, so it gets almost everything out of there, which is nice. And I am caught up again here with my system a bit. And again, this is not something I'm super happy with there. But anyway, here we go. Now you've seen the other foam cannon as well, just to give you an idea of like what that would be like. Really quickly, my last couple thoughts. Trigger pull is easy, but it is actually pretty fatiguing to hold for a long time compared to some of the other guns that I have. If you're washing like multiple vehicles, that kind of thing, I think you're gonna have kind of a tired hand at the end. Something to think about there. Obviously, the foam cannon is just like every other foam cannon. It's not amazing. It does put foam on the cargo, so it'll work. And that was quite a mess I had there for a little bit. So this is also very much like all the other ones that you get, but it's longer and it does work. So that is good too. So I like the tips. I like the lance. I like that it comes with a short gun. I wish this had a swivel on it. That would be really helpful for untangling all of this. I like that it comes with a longer pressure hose, but I'd still probably upgrade it if it were me. That doesn't mean you would do that though. I think the unit performs pretty well. It puts out quite a bit of water, plenty of pressure, plenty of water to wash your vehicle, and that's really all that matters. Whether it's 1.8 gallons or 2.3, you're still gonna be able to wash your vehicle. So the unit itself performs pretty well. I like the storage. It is nice and light, and I was able to keep it one spot when I wash my vehicle, which means it takes less time. And everything connected really well too. So if you're a beginner person, you want to be able to detail your car at home, but you don't necessarily want to make it a hobby where you're spending lots and lots of money on accessories and things like that, I think this is a pretty good unit to pick up. I'm gonna be honest with you on that one. I have no affiliation with Ryobi or Home Depot. I think this is a pretty good unit. Now, if you're somebody who thinks they're gonna upgrade their equipment after they purchase a pressure washer and they're really just worried about getting a fairly decent pressure washer and then you're going to replace all the accessories anyway, I don't think this is the unit I'd purchase. And the reason for that is you can get a unit that performs well as a pressure washer for less money than this one, and then start upgrading and not actually wasting money on the accessories that they gave you, and pick out the ones you want. So if you think you're gonna add a different hose, you think you're gonna maybe upgrade the gun at some point, you think you're gonna get a different foam cannon anyway, it might be smart to find a pressure washer that's around that $110 to $120 mark, has a high GPM, and the pressure washer itself is decent. This pressure washer itself is gonna be really similar to all the other ones in that range. It's very similar to my Westinghouse, I would say. If you're gonna upgrade the stuff, then I would think about going with one of the less expensive ones and starting to upgrade right away. This gun feels very light and kind of cheap, but you saw it works just fine. Now, how long it will work might be an issue, but maybe it'll be long enough that you don't care and then you can replace it when it breaks, and that's okay too. I do not love that it doesn't have the swivel at the end. That is unfortunate because I think the swivel would make this a little bit easier to deal with. Now you can add a swivel, but it's an added cost, something to think about. So this gun here from Yamatic is about 40 bucks. So in that particular case, if I purchased a lower end system and bought this gun, I would be at about that same price and I'd have a much nicer gun. Or if I purchased that lower end system, didn't replace the gun, and I got this foam cannon, I'd be at about the same price as the Ryobi, but I'd still have to add some of those other accessories. So this is all up to you. I do think it performs really well, and I do think it's a pretty good beginner system. But I'd be really curious to know in the comments what you think of this system. You know, just leave some comments based upon what you saw here today, and also let me know what questions you have. I'd be happy to try some other accessories with this system, but I think the purpose of the Ryobi is to try not to have to buy those extra accessories. So what I liked about the system was I like the lance. I like that this is a 40-foot hose. I like that you got a Shorty gun. I like these tips a lot. The pressure washer is pretty solid, and I think the noise level is pretty similar as it is on other systems too. So something else to think about there. But I would say for $150, you're not going to get a better system than this one. All right, so there you have it. Let me know in the comments what other questions you have or anything else you'd like me to test with the system. I would definitely add quick connects to everything no matter what. That's about another 30 bucks. So you're talking about $180 and you have a pretty solid system with quick connects. So thank you so much for watching. Remember, live your life in beta, and we'll see you next time.